It is now day, I want to say 117 of the writer's strike. The actor's strike continues to go on, and the industry continues to be ground to a halt, unless you're in Venice at the film festival there. There, everything looks like everything's fully going full speed. Everything looks wonderful. But no, seriously, the strikes have taken a major toll on the studios, on Hollywood as a whole, on writers, on actors, on everybody involved, right? I mean, that's the reality of whenever two sides can't come to an agreement, you get a strike, this happens. But a new report has come out, featured in the Hollywood Reporter, that is really highlighting the fact that, you know, when stuff like this happens, it never only impacts the immediate parties involved. There is what they call in war, collateral damage. That's unfortunate, something nobody wants, but it's part of it, and that's there. And a new report has just come out that has suggested there have been 17,000 jobs lost as a result of the ongoing strikes. This is some select paragraphs coming from that Hollywood Reporter article. Says this: the ongoing Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA strikes are beginning to hit Hollywood's labor pool. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, in figures released Friday, the film, TV, and music industry shed over 17,000 jobs last month. Beyond the striking workers, the impact of the strikes has led to layoffs at other businesses in Hollywood, including at production companies, talent agencies, and businesses that have traditionally relied on Hollywood studio systems for their income. On Thursday, California State Treasurer Fiona Ma sent a letter to the studios asking them to return to the negotiating table. The impact of these two strikes paralyzes Hollywood and reverberates across the state, affecting countless businesses, thousands of pension funds beneficiaries, and millions of Californians, Ma wrote. And look, the sexy stuff here is, of course, you know, actors and writers and big Hollywood studios having their disputes and the issues at hand, AI, residuals, writer room sizes, I should say, and others. But it's important for us to also acknowledge, and I think this article does a pretty good job of it, of as these things go on, the industry as a whole and those industries connected to it are taking a serious beating. There are people who are not writers or actors or studio executives who have jobs relying on production being going and all that kind of stuff. And it's having a direct impact. The numbers also in the article went on to talk about how much money this has probably cost the economy at this point. So it's something that nobody is happy about. The writers aren't happy about it. The studios aren't happy about it. The actors aren't happy about it, but it's just a consequence of war, I suppose, and it's having an impact. And it's even has, like, even us around here, like when nothing is in production and no new deals are being signed, it's even difficult for us to sometimes, I mean, the last couple of days we have a lot to talk about, but there are some days that there's not a lot to talk about. So even though we're on the way outside orbit of what's going on at the core of this thing, it's even impacting people like us. Anyway, Chris, as this thing has progressed and gone on, we get little glimpses of hope, and then we get massive dashes of reality to be followed by little glimpses of hope, massive dashes of things. I mean, I got really excited the other day just because, at least on the writer's side, it looked like the writers and the studios were at least talking again. I mean, that even if you're yelling at each other, they're at least talking. We finally saw the studios produce a counteroffer, which I have no idea why they didn't produce that a week after the strike began, but whatever, here we are. But the unfortunate reality is it's having an impact on everybody surrounding that. Do you think that this reality is something that the leadership of the AMPTP, SAG, the WJ, is this something that they're all cognizant of? Do you think that kind of lights a fire into them, understanding that there are people beyond just their immediate conflict? Or is this something that they all were just kind of cognizant of before they even began? And it's just like, it sucks, but that's a casualty of war. I don't know. How do you think it's being looked at?
I personally feel, and obviously I have an inherent bias as always as a SAG-AFTRA member.
That doesn't mean you're not allowed to have an opinion.
But yeah, just always want to preface that when people are like, Chris isn't reporting facts. Of course I'm not. I'm reporting my opinion on the matter. I'm not a journalist either, so that was very professional. I think that SAG-AFTRA members and I think WGA members were very cognizant of this from the beginning of, yes, this affects everybody. And that solidarity we've also seen with other guilds and other unions, IATSE, everyone like that too, knowing that this shuts down the industry for all of us, and it's going to affect all of us. And I do think that definitely puts a fire under all of us to get things solved. But if the AMPTP isn't going to counter with anything that actually is meaningful, then there's not much to do here. The AMPTP, however, I do think they have had more of a, well, of course this affects all of these workers, but we don't want to give them that 1%, 2% raise. It does seem very Ebenezer Scroogey right now but I want to dive in my money vault and I couldn't give any of you peasants anything. It feels like that. It feels like cartoon mustache twirling greed nonsense. There was a great op-ed piece in the LA Times yesterday from Mary McNamara talking about how the AMPTP really just needs to come to terms with, hey, look, you've hired all these PR firms. You're doing all this crisis management. You are spending so much more money than this should cost you by just giving in to a few things. And you're already the public villains. In a Gallup poll, 67% of Americans are on the side of strikes and unions as a whole. Now, that isn't a huge majority, but still, public opinion is going to the side of writers and actors and everything as well. This is also going to continue to affect everyone on a state level, too. Now, there's already precedents for this in states like New York and New Jersey, but unionized workers, when on strike, can qualify for unemployment. And a bill is being brought forward here in California to do the same. So, if you're a Californian and you maybe aren't really keen on the actors or anything striking to begin with, your taxes could still be affected by our work. Restaurants are affected by this. Insurance companies are affected by this. Car rental places, all kinds of businesses here are affected at every level because of Hollywood shutting down. So something has to happen here because it's not just that the Bobs and everyone aren't making their money and we're not, having new content. It's that no one's making money, and that's going to affect us on such a huge level. We've got a really great, important economy that needs to be looked at should things continue like this.
Let me ask you this, and because I'm asking Jimmy because I don't know what the answer to this is. So, like somebody like me, and I, for one, am super grateful that you're actually a part of SAG because you get to give us that perspective. Let me ask you this, though. Like, from a writer's perspective, like a couple of weeks ago, the details of the AMPTP's offer to the WGA was made public. To outsiders, I'm not in the WGA, I'm not in the AMPTP. To some outsiders like myself, that deal looked pretty good. We haven't seen, have you heard, I haven't heard, this is a legitimate question, I don't know the answer. Now, have we heard, has the WGA countered again? Or has the WGA kind of just dug in their heels and said, nope, this is what we want and we're not compromising?
I'm honestly not sure if they made a counteroffer. I do know the AMTP released a statement during what was supposed to be a media blackout that both sides agreed to.
Right.
Which is not a great look. It's not really,
but
really
I mean, to
good.
be fair, and God damn it, I hate it when I have to say something on behalf of like studios, but to be fair, like people in the WGA constantly are in front of the microphone and they're constantly vilifying the AMPTP and they're constantly saying all this stuff. I don't know how it's unfair for the, AMPTP to say, look, world, we did make them an offer and here's what it was. I don't know how that's unfair, where it's completely fair that the WGA members can, or the leadership can constantly just talk about how evil and violent, that without giving specifics and without giving actual numbers, just saying, we're not being given enough, we're not being given this. Like, I think it's perfectly fair for the WGA to do that. I just don't see why it should be considered foul play for the studios to do that as well.
I think the bigger issue was that it was a public statement being presented to the press with things when it was, hey, we're going to all sit down for a minute and cool off and talk about this. I think that was more of it, of the MTP going, yeah, of course, but we're going to jump ahead of this and try to get ahead of it. That's the part that's a little ick, for lack of a more professional term there. Maybe they are countering with something worthwhile. Maybe they didn't. I'm not sure. Really right now, though, all I keep coming back to is, look, we've done this song and dance before. We have. Of the writer's strike in 2007 and how that hugely affected the industry, not only at the time, but moving forward. I mean, that was
part of the landscape. You've pointed this out before, and I think you're right. Part of the landscape today is still a repercussion.
It's because of that. We started keeping up with the Kardashians because of this.
Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video,
Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.
So the AMPTP needs to make meaningful changes to their offers. And also, I do know one thing that was an issue was that there were so many things that just felt ambiguous in their counteroffer that still felt like there's too much wiggle room for you guys to dick us around here. Again, probably said in a more legalese manner than I am presenting to everyone here. But there's just too much gray area in some of these counteroffers. And I think they all need to come to terms. Again, it's not going to be a number that everyone's happy with, but they need some more concrete details on this because contracts, when you have loopholes, people find them. That is just the nature of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. If you have a loophole
not
in
that
it,
studios would ever do that.
never. Not even one time. Right? We kind of saw this with the nun story we covered a few weeks ago of just, yeah, no, we're giving you a portion of this, but what if we don't have to give you a portion of this? You know, it's always, if there's a gray area, people are going to exploit it. So I think that's one of the issues right now is they need concrete solutions on that contract.
You know what I would love as an outsider looking in? I would love for both sides to shut up and stop being ambiguous, because like AMPTP putting some ambiguity in the offer itself, but also the WGA speak in ambiguities. I would love for both sides to put forward specifics of what they're asking for. Like I get when I hear the WGA leadership, like we're looking for more equity in this. Okay, no, but tell me specifically, we want 3.2% of this. Stop speaking in generality. Say exactly what it is you're looking for so you can take the AMPTP's feet, put them to the fire, and have the AMPTP actually address the specific numbers that what it is that the WGA is looking for. And then just keep going back and forth and keep talking until you get to a number that, I like the way you said it, that you're both a little bit unhappy with, and say, okay, you know, I brought this up before. This part still, I had this conversation with a friend of mine who's in one of the unions yesterday, and this part still really bothers me. These deals are only for 3 years. They're only for 3 years. And I don't understand why the AMPTP can't say, maybe there's 3 things they find completely unacceptable. Take one of them and say, you know what, we'll give you that one, but we all understand in 3 years, we've got 3 years to keep talking about it, because in 3 years, we're going to want to revisit this. And let's keep talking over the next 3 years. I don't know why the WGA doesn't go, okay, here's the 2 things we find unacceptable. Fine, we'll eat it on one with the complete understanding that we got to revisit this in 3 years. Or why don't both sides get together and say, look, we're close on this, this, and this. We're pretty far apart on this, this, and this. Why don't we come to this agreement, and we'll make screw the 3 years. We'll make it a temporary 1-year deal. And over this next 12 months, we're not going to take a 10-month break and then start talking again 60 days before the deadline. Let's take the whole bloody year and keep talking. And I don't know, it just seems like nobody seems desperate. Not the studios. Nobody seems desperate to get everybody back to work right now. And as an outsider, this is starting to drive me a little bit crazy, especially when we're hearing that they're not talking to each other. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why some common sense can't be brought in here and just say, look, let's come up with something that gets everybody back to work right now and gives us a mechanism to continue hammering out our issues without being committed to it long term. There's got to be some. I mean, I'm probably way oversimplifying it. I probably am, but it It seems to me like there's got to be something there to allow something like that to happen. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.